Welcome back, boxing fans. Cheers to another night of live boxing content with Sean on Boxing. Thanks everyone for jumping in this evening. We're going to keep it going from what we did last night. Obviously, last night we could have kept going longer, but I prefer to keep it under 2 hours. So here we are. Let's get it going. We have a lot to discuss this evening. So let's get to it. So there we go. So this is my Boxing Talk episode number 2. Number 1, Mars, welcome in. So let's get to it. Obviously, we have quite a few topics of conversation today. So let's get to it. Number 1, as I was saying, I'm going to be making my predictions tonight. We can do that before people roll in and obviously have more people in the house. Larry, I got Berlanga stopping Paddy mid-rounds. He is completely open to that straight right hand. TKO mid-round Berlanga. Oh, do you change your perspective from last night? I can't remember who was pushing for Paddy last night. But let's look at this first card first. I talked about it a little last night, but now we can see it right here in front of us. Obviously, Sultan, that's a good fight. I don't think it's one of the fights on my prediction league. So let me just open that first so I can take a peek to see which fights are relevant. This time I'm really doing poorly on my prediction league. For some reason I'm just not doing very well at all. So let's look at the fights we have. So we have 3 fights from this card. Kosi Tanaka versus Christian Rangel, which is the fight right there. Rangel is 22-4-2, 9 KOs, so not much power. This is for the WBO Super Flyweight title. And then, of course, that title was just vacated by Junto Nakatani, who's obviously on this card moving up in weight. So, Kosi Tanaka is going to become a 4-weight world champion, even though he's not beating a champion to do that. So you got to keep that in mind. Obviously, how much credit can you get him for beating a guy like Christian Rangel? I have no doubts that he's a solid fighter, but obviously he's not an elite fighter. So I do expect Kosi Tanaka to end up stopping him late in this fight. So I would probably say around round 9 TKO for Kosi Tanaka. Tanaka is one of those guys, he's mostly a volume puncher, right? He's not super slick. Technically, he's got some deficiencies. He gets hit a little too much. His defense is not that good. But he's a volume puncher who outworks and breaks guys down with good body work. Then, of course, we have the good fight, the fight between 2 champions, Takumi Inoue, Monster Inoue's brother, who currently is 18-1, 4 knockouts. It's quite a bit different than his brother. And then Jerwin Ancanjas, the ex-115-pound world champion, who is 34-3-2, 23 KOs. Good little bit of power, solid fighter, defended his IBF world title at 115 pounds quite a few times. I'm not sure off the top of my head how many times he was successful, but it was pushing double digits for sure, until, of course, he ran into the tough Argentinian who gave him 2 of the losses that are on his resume. This should be a quality fight. Inoue is a good fighter, and obviously he's been getting better and better moving forward, obviously sparring and working out with his brother. You're not going to have much more of a better opportunity to improve than be in the gym with a guy like him, right? Where obviously you're not going to fight somebody who's better than your brother, right? In truth. But at the same time, he's obviously far more comfortable with his brother because he's been in with him so much. He's very understanding of his style and what he does, so, and obviously his brother's not trying to knock his ass out. Jerwin Ancanjas is going in there to prove something. He's trying to become a 2-weight world champion. And this win potentially makes him relevant all over again and puts him in potential big matchups against maybe a guy like Junto Nakatani for a unification fight at this weight class, as well as Rodriguez, who's got a world title at this weight class as well. And who else has a title at this weight? Oh, Maloney. So if he ends up winning a title over Inui, you think about Maloney, Philippines, Australia. That's a big fight, easy to make. And then obviously you have Junto Nakatani, who potentially may want to revenge his countrymen. And then, of course, the tough Rodriguez, which is a good fight potentially to go to America, right? Where Rodriguez, being Puerto Rican, probably could sell a little better in the U.S. I'm going to pick Jerwin and Kanjas to win this fight by unanimous decision over 12 rounds. I would not be surprised if he drops Inui during this fight, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stop Inui. Larry says, damn, 3 title fights and at least 1 great fight, but the LDBC won't watch because I don't watch fights under 135. Exactly, right? Like, you think about any PBC card that's come out in the last 5 years. Have they ever had 3 world title fights on one card, even pay-per-views, right? I'm not saying they haven't, but it's not regular. It's not consistent. Whereas generally in the past, pay-per-view fights were star-studded and stacked with world title fights. That's why they were pay-per-view, because you were getting your money's worth, right? And unfortunately today, that's not really very normal. And this is going to be on ESPN Plus, like I said yesterday. And then, of course, we get to the main fight of the card, which should be very good. Alexandro Santiago versus Junto Nakatani. Junto Nakatani trying to become a 3-weight world champion by beating Santiago. Obviously, Santiago was successful beating Donaire to win this WBC title. And it was funny looking at them. I just watched the sort of build up today on YouTube. And the height difference is enormous, gigantic, right? So I think Santiago is going to have a real hard time getting past Junto Nakatani's straight punches, especially his jab. If they all win, they would have 9 world champions with, I believe, 15 different titles. Uncle Al kept us fed for 10 summers. I don't know if he kept us fed, buddy. I don't know if you can call that being fed. I mean, unless you're coming from Somalia or Ethiopia, and then maybe you call that a good meal. In this fight, I do think that Nakatani is going to stop Santiago probably around round 7. That's my prediction. So there you go for this card. Obviously, Junto Nakatani by 7th round TKO, Jerwin and Kanjas by unanimous 12-round decision, and Kosi Tanaka by 9th round TKO. Body work and working this guy is going to break him down eventually, maybe. So let's get to the next topic of conversation. What we already talked about that. Why did I put that slide up there again? This one too. Okay, here we go. So obviously this is the biggest conversation going, right? And when I say that, I'm not joking. This fight is obviously getting, or this potential matchup, whatever may happen, is getting tons of air right now. Who should Canelo face in May? It's not so much about who should he face. The bigger question is, who is he going to face? Apparently, it was just released today that the PBC offered him $35 million guarantee if he was to fight Jaime Munguia on the PBC. And as I've said all along, I think that Jaime Munguia-Canelo fight is fucking a great matchup. I know haters of Canelo will say that it's a cherry pick. And then, of course, those same people will say, when is Jaime Munguia going to step up? Well, if he fights Canelo, isn't he stepping up? Right? You can't have a bigger step up than fighting Canelo Alvarez, right? There is no bigger step up, especially at 168 pounds. That is as big as it gets. So for Jaime, that's a can't miss fight. Obviously, it makes tons of sense. It's a fight that real hardcore boxing fans would love to see. And this doesn't mean that I don't want to see him fight David Benavidez. No. If I felt that that fight could be made in May, I'd be more than happy to have the fight that's done. And actually, I just released a video not that long ago thinking that probably was going to be the fight, since Canelo did say he was going to fight an American, and it looked as if Bud Crawford and Charlo were out of the race, which only left one fighter left, Benavidez. And the question is, why wouldn't you do that fight? Yesterday, somebody in the comment section made a good point, right? If Canelo fights this guy and this guy fights that guy, then what's David Benavidez going to do? Who's he going to fight? There's no other opponents available to him unless he was to take on, say, a Charlo himself. But are you going to criticize and hate on Canelo for fighting Charlo, but then dick ride and fanboy Benavidez fighting him? Right? You can't have it both ways. Or obviously Morrell, which would be a great fight, but the chances are you're not going to risk a Canelo Alvarez payday to fight David Morrell at this point of your career. So the question is, who is Benavidez going to fight? He would probably fight a really low-level opponent, somebody nobody really cares about. What's Nakatani's ceiling, Sean? Can he go all the way up to 122? 122, easy. No problem, he can go to 122. So the possibility of him and Inouye is a possibility for sure, depending on how long Inouye feels he can stay at that weight. Nakatani is bigger than Inouye is, so he should be able to easily go to 122 and eventually 126. The question is he good enough to go to those weight classes and actually be competitive and win titles, right? He's still pretty young, so we have to wait and see, unlike Inouye, who's 30 years old. So, he's at his best right now. This is his peak. Munguia is a great action-packed, fan-friendly fighter. That's absolutely a fight I would like to see. That's the thing, right? If you love boxing, this may not be the number one fight you ask for, but the reality of the situation is it's going to be a great fight, right? So you shouldn't be dismissive of the fight. You should just put an asterisk and say, it's not the fight I want, but it's a great fight. And that would be completely honest. We only want Canelo versus Benavidez. No, if you only want somebody to face somebody, then really you're just being a narrative pusher. Because in boxing, things have never worked out that way, ever. I see a lot of Canelo fanboys saying that we will complain no matter who Canelo faces. Nobody will complain if Canelo faces Benavidez. Well, I guarantee you that if Benavidez is next, people will complain. People complained when he fought fucking Floyd. They complained when he fought Golovkin. They complained when he fought fucking Saunders, Callum Smith, Plant crossing over to the PBC. They complained when he fought Bivol. People will fucking constantly complain regardless of what Canelo Alvarez does. And if you don't recognize that, well, that's because you just are trying to push a narrative, or you're just being delusional. Jaime is on the juice. He doesn't get tired, and his punch resistance is unreal. Who cares? I could care fucking less. I don't care who's on the juice, because in reality, I think they're all on the fucking juice. Benavidez has a fight, either Charlo, Berlanga, Villa, or Morrell. And like I think you said yesterday, the most likely opponent out of all of those probably would be Mbile, but he is a top-ranked fighter. So because of that, how likely is it? Morrell is probably unlikely. Berlanga is a DAZN fighter, isn't he? So that fight's probably unlikely. So that leaves Charlo, this wreck of a fighter. If I was David, I would be calling out the winner of Beterbiev Bivol and try away from the PBC. I would be doing that too. Sean, have you ever had Everclear vodka? No. Welcome back, young, hungry lions. Speak for yourself, Jay. I like the Munguia fight, and it's way better than the Jamel fight. Way better. Quentin, what's up? Canelo can fight Godzilla, and they will ask, why ain't he fighting King Kong? Exactly. It's the same thing people did with Floyd Mayweather. So if you're a Floyd fan, you should see the writing on the wall and how this is playing out exactly the same. Let's go. Canelo Munguia, May 4th is awesome. Awesome. David beats David easily. David beats David easily. Be a little less vague. So let's get to it. So obviously, as I said before, I wouldn't mind Crawford if Crawford was really hungry for that fight. It's a big money fight for him, and I can understand why he'd want it. But at the same time, I don't think he needs to do it. I'd rather see him go towards a Tim Tszyu. Munguia, as I said, would be a great opponent. Jamal Charlo is fucking, for Canelo, I mean, I don't mind if he beats the shit out of fucking Charlo because people have been clout chasing and dick riding Charlo and his brother for so long, along with Andrade. These dudes being exposed as nothing but hype jobs makes me happy. So I don't mind that at all, but it's not a fight I prefer. And as far as David Benavidez, that is the fight we want. And if it's not in May and it happens in September, then that's great. If he was to fight Munguia in May, Benavidez in September, that's fight of the year. You win both of those fights and you are fighter of the fucking year. Like, and still people would be critical. And you know it. If you say they won't, then you're not being honest. Paulie is the number one Canelo hater. Paulie is that's for sure. But he's not the number one. Probably fucking Juan Manuel Marquez is fucking number one. Sean, if Zerto Ramirez beats Arsen Guillemarian for the cruiserweight title, could you see Canelo jump up 2 divisions and try to take that title? Maybe that would be a fight that would make sense, right? If it's Zerto at that point. But, we will see. Obviously, I would prefer to see him face the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev to try to become an undisputed champion in a second weight division. That shit would be historical, right? And even if you lose that fight, it's still a fucking legacy fight as long as you don't get destroyed, right? Newton's take on boxing. Marquez don't like Canelo. He don't like him. He constantly is fucking hating on him. Constantly. Even Julio Cesar Fez Sr. for a long time was the same, but he's come around and started to be more of pro-Mexican, which you should be. Because as a Mexican fighter, why are you hating on the best Mexican fighter currently in boxing, right? Just because you're jealous because he's making shitloads of cash? Well, congratulations to him. I mean, I don't see the need to beat that fucking drum. Move on. You had your chances. You made your money. But that's the problem with some guys like Floyd and others. They're so petty, right? And constantly they, show their pettiness by the criticism they throw towards other fighters. These dudes need to move on. Charlo is like the new kid in class that nobody wants to hang around with. Curse of Al Heyman. Well, and I mean, it's the curse of Charlo. He's done it to himself. Recently, as I said yesterday, going on that interview and asking for money, drunk and stoned, to go on a huge social media's platform. Like, you go on that platform, you call up Canelo Alvarez, maybe you generate enough buzz to actually make the Canelo Alvarez Charlo fight, right? But you go on there sounding pathetic as fuck, drunk and high, begging for money. And now people are thinking, who's this fucking guy? And he's been going through this for 3 years now. So it's definitely not the best look, but, Charlo is Charlo. D Styles explained Mayweather perfectly yesterday. Really? What did he say? Here is boxing news, pound for pound top 6 I saw the other day. So I'm just trying to highlight that and get your guys' perspective on it. Obviously, number 1 and 2, no surprise, Terence Crawford, Inouye. Usyk at number 3. Most people feel Usyk deserves to be in that conversation. If he beats Fury and becomes undisputed in the second weight division, he only solidifies himself in the top 3 even more. I don't know if that puts him above Inouye or Crawford, but it definitely becomes a 3-horse race, right? 3 guys, all 2-weight undisputed champions. That shit's legacy, man. Nobody's ever done it, and now we potentially have 3 of them at the top of the pound-for-pound list. Yet, many American YouTubers, of course, have Inouye and Usyk nowhere close to the top 3 because they only push racial narratives. They don't fucking focus on the sport of boxing, right? Because as a boxing fan, how do you not think these 3 deserve to be right there? They've done everything they needed to do and more. Snoopy says, you're bringing up Mayweather as to make excuses for Canelo ducking behavior. No, Snoopy, because you say Canelo's ducking, but yet you can't tell me one fighter in boxing today who has a better resume and has fucking more accolades than Canelo Alvarez. Not one. If you can, Leave it in the comment section. I mean, it's easy to talk out your ass, but use some fucking actual proof and data to back up your fucking perspective. You can't. But you'll continue to push this anti-Canelo Alvarez rhetoric. Whereas the same criticism that Floyd Mayweather got constantly, every time he had a fighter that people asked him to fight, once he fought them, then of course they called him out and criticized him for doing it. It's the same thing now that's happening to Canelo Alvarez. But okay, keep pushing your narrative. Floyd at the half of his career was giving us Cotto, Canelo, Maidana. Who gives a fuck about Maidana? Like, you pushing Maidana in that conversation exposes you as a flomo, because Maidana is a dude that got beat by fucking Amir Khan. So if he's such a great opponent, then Canelo knocking out Amir Khan fucking must be legendary. Canelo is not fighting anything close to that. Canelo Alvarez fought Floyd. He fought Golovkin, who actually is better than everybody on this list outside of Manny. Then he fought Kovalev, who's right there at the same level as all of them. I mean, he fought Lara, who's also right there on that list as well. See, it's easy to dismiss a guy and just talk out your ass, proving that you're just a Floyd Flomo. And that's cool. You can love Floyd. But the reality is nobody dismissed Floyd or hated on him. Actually, I talked about people hating on Floyd and comparing it to what Canelo is going through now. And you're proving my point. So thank you very much for proving my point. Check it out. Haney, pound for pound, out of here. How the hell did Bivol pound for pound? Bivol deserves to be pound for pound. He beat Canelo Alvarez, and he did it easily. Yes, sure, Canelo was fighting in his fourth weight division. Of course, Snoopy won't give him credit for taking on that level of opponent. But that was always going to be a tough opponent for Canelo Alvarez, a guy with slow, flat feet, right? Trying to catch a taller, bigger, faster boxer with better movement. Canelo, Inouye, Usyk, and Crawford are all you need. Literally, people voted for Khan over Maidana. Snoopy, you forgot that Maidana was considered a flat-footed brawler who AB would easily school, and then he basically whooped him and got the Floyd fight. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Maidana was a cherry pick for Broner that Broner just fucking blew, and took him for granted and ended up getting exposed in that fight. And then his career was fucking done after that. And then Floyd saw it as a cherry pick, went in and fucking also struggled with him. But Devin Alexander, who fought him previously prior to that, beat his ass easily. Because styles do make fights. Kind of like how Romain Villa got the Enos fight. Yeah. Floyd fought a lesser Pacquiao and said he didn't want to hurt anyone anymore. That's true. He had already been knocked out by Marquez and beat by Bradley. So you are pound for pound for beating a smaller fighter. It's supposed to be the other way around. No, Quentin, it's not supposed to be the other round. It's an accumulation of everything. This is a guy who's made 10 title defenses at light heavyweight, beat every single fighter he faced clearly and easily, right? And now is in an undisputed unification fight with Better BF. And I think Better BF should be on this list in front of Devin Haney. But if I say that, I'm racist, because obviously then it's only going to be one black guy on the list and everybody else is going to be non-black. So, but it's not about that. It's about the domination and the resume that Better BF has. But I think, you're downplaying Bivol and what he's done. Floyd was also lesser at that point, Iceman. Floyd wasn't lesser. Floyd hadn't been knocked out. Floyd hadn't been beaten 2 times back-to-back. So you saying he's lesser, the only reason he was lesser is because he was fighting cherry-pick opponents like fucking Guerrero and fucking, Vargas, and guys like that. Guys that were fucking cherry-pick fucking fights. Never going to be legitimate opponents. But he did beat Canelo. And he did beat Manny in a boring fight that almost ruined boxing, but still he did it. He just had to wait fucking almost 8 years before he manned up. Larry Maidana was good competition. Come on. Maidana was such good competition. He got beat by Amir Khan and got beat by Devin Alexander. 2 fighters that Floyd ducked. 10 title offenses and a win over a smaller fighter that hasn't been undisputed yet, and the smaller fighter he beat is ahead of him. Pound for pound is about accomplishments, and Bivol has the least amount of. Well, the least amount of the guys on this list, that's true. That's true. Nobody's going to argue that he's more accomplished than Canelo, Usyk, Inoue, Crawford, even Devin Haney. But his resume is very good. He's won his fights convincingly, and he's got the big fight coming up. So that is going to be the fight that crowns him pound for pound top 5 easily. If he beats Beterbiev, right? Then he will be undisputed. Then he will have all the accolades. And at that point, your whole argument will be out the door. But if he gets knocked the fuck out, then you'll feel justified. And Beterbiev will finally get the respect he deserves. Sean, what's your take on Fury cutting himself? I don't fucking care. I'm not a Fury fan, and I'm not really a Usyk fan. That fight, to me, is not a fight that I'm really that excited to watch. It's legacy and historical, so of course I'm going to support it. But at the same time, I don't fucking care so much. I prefer to see AJ versus fucking Francis Ngannou, if we're going to be honest. I'm not saying Maidana wasn't a good fighter. I'm saying he was a cherry pick who went wrong. Exactly. And Floyd was, yes, he was, which is what led him to the Floyd fight. I think the Fury versus Fury fight will be a tactical affair, Sean. Me too. Which doesn't mean it's going to be very exciting. But yeah, so you don't think Bivol deserves in the top 6. What about Devin Haney? Devin Haney is undisputed, so that is a quality accolade. He does have a quality win now with his victory over Lomachenko. And then, of course, if he beats Garcia and Prograis with Linares and Jojo Diaz, his resume is shaping up nicely. It's better than fucking Gervonta Tank Davis, who many people have on their top 5. And in truth, I would want Tank Davis on my top 5, but he hasn't done the things he needed to do to justify it, right? And that's the only reason I couldn't put him on my pound for pound list. How could I? Because if it was just me liking a fighter, then I'd have Lomachenko in my top 5. Come on, Sean. That's an MMA fighter. I consider those fights exhibitions. Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a fight that should have been made, but Fury opened that door by fighting Ngannou. So AJ has no world title. He's got nothing to fucking do except fight somebody that generates the most money and wait for his opportunity to fight the winner of Fury and Usyk for undisputed. So why not? I don't think it's a problem. Just like I don't think Canelo fighting Charlo is a problem either. It's not a fight that I would prefer. I just don't want to fucking listen to the back and forth on YouTube if he does sign that fight. I prefer he fights fucking Benavidez, and then all the fucking haters like fucking Snoopy will have nothing to say, even though they still will, even if he does that. Literally everyone on that list has been undisputed already and has won titles in more weight divisions than Bivol, so he would still have at least amount of accomplishments. His victory over Beterbiev, if he was to beat Beterbiev, is probably anything better than Devin Haney has done, and probably better than anything Inoue has done, and potentially better than anything Bud Crawford has done. Ryder was beaten by Tomato Can in fielding. Jermel lost to Harrison, who was stopped by Willie Mays. Yildirim lost to Durrell, so I can play the game as well. And you make it sound like somebody somehow is fanboying fucking Tony Harrison or Charlo. The only people who are fanboying Charlo are the LDBC and the PBC fanboys because he was undisputed. And as far as Yildirim, whoever fucking bigged up fucking Yildirim, like literally nobody ever did it. And the irony is, if it was David Benavidez that fought Yildirim, you probably would have nothing negative to say. But because it's Canelo and all you're on here is to do is find ways to be critical of Canelo, you're going to fucking find ways to be critical of Canelo. But you still haven't told me one fighter currently today who's accomplished more and has a better resume than Canelo. Why not? Snoopy, what are you ducking for? Come on, man. Come out of the closet and put on your big man fucking boots and fucking come play the game. Who has a better resume and has accomplished more than Canelo Alvarez currently in the sport of boxing? And if you're not equally critical of all those fighters, then you're just proving my point. You're just a hater. And literally, it doesn't matter what he does, you're still going to hate. And everyone knows that's true. Snoopy, you're leaving out the facts that when Ryder lost to Fielding, it was considered a controversial, and he did beat a former world champion in Jacobs, and he was a mandatory, I believe. He was mandatory. And many people feel he beat Smith and was robbed on the cards there as well. Who the hell is Snoopy? Charlie Brown's dog. Yildirim loss was considered a robbery. That's why he was given the shot by the WBC. Exactly. I think something happened, drug testing or something for Durrell. So that's why he was given that shot. And it was going to be Benavidez that got the shot. But Benavidez dropped the ball by fucking being a fat slob and losing his title. I got you on the back foot. No, you don't. Because you still haven't told me one fighter who's done more than Canelo Alvarez. And until you do that, you're not even in the fucking game. Snoopy is Damon Wester. Probably. Yeah. I'll definitely say that would be badass win if he does beat Beterbiev. I got Bivol in that one. See, you even favor Bivol to beat Beterbiev. And yet here you are hating on the dude. Fucking Christ, man. It's not like I'm talking to like somebody who isn't going to fucking put money on the guy beating Beterbiev. I'm picking Beterbiev. Let me ask you this. What prime A-level fighter did Canelo beat without controversy? Jacobs, come on now. No, man. I asked you a question, and still you're ducking, and you haven't come out with another fighter that has done more or has a better resume. Why do I need to respond to your questions if you don't respond to the simple question that I laid out to you? Very simple. One name. Sean, can you imagine Canelo getting dropped by someone like Ronald Graville? Exactly. Ronald fucking Graville, right? I like David Benavidez. So I ain't fucking hating on him at all. But just the fucking delusion that people throw out to hate on Canelo. I've needed to be a Canelo apologist. And I'm not a fucking Canelo fan. Nothing about Canelo I like. Not his style. Fucking nothing. I don't mind him, the person. But outside of that, there's nothing I like about Canelo. I'm a Golovkin fan. And I believe Golovkin got robbed, fucked, and screwed over by the powers that be, right? Just the same way Lomachenko did in multiple fights. But you don't hear me crying about it. Here I am supporting a guy that really I'm not a fan of, because that's how much hate he gets. The people that fanboy for Floyd, they do that because they're dick riders. They love Floyd more than they love their fucking wife, more than they love their girlfriend, more than they love their mother. I don't feel that way about Canelo Alvarez. If Canelo Alvarez never fights again, I wouldn't be fucking concerned at all. It wouldn't bother me, because there's a lot of fighters I enjoy watching, and he's primarily not one of them. No hate, just criticism. What's wrong with Canelo's style? He comes to bring the pain. Now that he's fighting at the bigger weight divisions, he's much more of a come forward brawler. But I liked it better when he was a little more slick and was trying to be a little more Floyd when he was fighting at the lower divisions. But he did that against Golovkin and lost the first fight. So then he changed his tactic and became far more aggressive, and then started to utilize his hand speed and the aggressive style against bigger, slower fighters, right? So, the reality is he's not the kind of fighter I like. I like a fighter who's more like a Bud Crawford, a guy that's more like Tank Davis if he had more volume. The problem is he doesn't have enough volume. So that's something that I just can't really like, when you're dropping rounds constantly to guys that aren't better than you. A guy like Beterbiev, right? I like aggressive boxer punchers, guys with good skills, but that come out to destroy dudes like a Nui, right? That's what I like Roman Gonzalez. Guys that are skilled, but they're not fucking passive. They're not counter punchers. They're not defense first fighters. That's not what I like. You can like it. I'm not saying people have to like what I like, but that's what I like. What A-level fighter has Shakur Haney tank beaten without controversy? Mean Machine dropped Bud Wright, so David got dropped by Graville ages ago. Well, the funny thing is, Mean Machine is a much better fighter than fucking Graville. Clearly, as an amateur and a pro. He didn't just get dropped by Graville. He got what some considered a gift in that fight, which could have gone either way, hence the rematch. Canelo never went life and death with guys like Graville. Canelo is an aggressive boxer puncher. He's not been that much of a boxer puncher since he moved to 168 and 175. Kovalev was easily outboxing him. That's why I said don't be surprised if Bivol beats him, because Bivol is a better, more younger, better leg boxer than Kovalev was at that point. And he did it. You can like Canelo. I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying what a world it is that I need to defend a guy I'm not even a big fan of, because people like Snoopy are so fucking deluded or so full of hate that all they can do is look for negatives. I'm still waiting for Snoopy to name one fighter who does have a better resume and has done more than Canelo Alvarez. And your silence speaks volumes. So thank you. Sean, don't appreciate low volume and counterpunchers. No, I don't. Low volume. Who wants to fucking watch that? Like Wilder. Wilder had power, but the dude never threw punches. He gave rounds away, fucking round after round after round. Fuck that shit, man. You're never going to be great if you consistently give away rounds. You're going to get beat eventually. Canelo fans are still holding a kid David getting stripped over weights, drugs, and getting dropped by Graville against him. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's ridiculous that people fucking are critical of Benavidez, but it's okay that you're critical of a guy who's done fucking way more than Benavidez and Canelo. Now, doesn't that sound fucking ridiculous? You fucking crying like a bitch because people are critical of Benavidez, a guy who lost his title twice, once because of drugs and once because he was a fat ass and didn't fucking train. But he doesn't deserve criticism. Canelo does. Yeah, that makes sense. Everyone, clap your hands. Here, I got a fucking good thing for you. Where is it? Yes. Washing your fucking garbage away, because that's what your fucking opinion is worth. It needs to be flushed down the toilet. Jesus Christ. What was that shit? Okay, so where are we? Canelo fans, where are we? Canelo was smart. He caught Kovalev at the right time and fought Yardy fight, and he supposedly had problems drinking on top of that, I believe, the hydration clause too. So boxer punchers can be outboxed. A boxer puncher is a boxer with a good foundation, and they hit hard. Salutes. Canelo is boring. Hasn't got a stoppage in a couple of years. He should fight Benavidez or drop the titles. Okay, JA. But you probably like fucking Devin Haney, right? Hasn't had a fucking knockout in how long? Paulie Canelo takes are disgusting. Him knocking out Plant, Saunders, and Kovalev was boring. Being undisputed at 168 was boring. Totally disagree. But that's the kind of ridiculous narratives Canelo gets. But JA is going to dick ride a bunch of fighters who haven't fucking done more. JA, the question is out for you too. Name one fighter you support who has a better resume than Canelo Alvarez and has accomplished more. Go. Both of you fucking dudes. You'll continue to fucking chirp in the comment section, but that's all you can do is chirp, because you don't have any facts to back up anything you say. Devin Haney is boring. Why do you assume I'm a Black Lives Matter warrior? Because of your Canelo hate. But then tell me, who do you support then? And has he done more than Canelo Alvarez? Go. Paulie is creating a narrative on probably Pro Box TV that Canelo is scared of David. Of course he does. But Paulie also does that to try to fuel the fight, right? The same way he did Haney and Lomachenko. He's trying to force those fights to happen by pushing out such a radical narrative that the fights end up happening. So you can see what Paulie's doing. I mean, if you get to talk to him in truth, I bet he doesn't believe that at all. Now Haney is boring. It's about what Canelo is doing now, not what he has done in the past. What's he doing now? Okay, what fighter do you fucking like? And what the fuck is he doing now? You're not disproving my point. You're only proving my point. The Canelo hate is a bunch of fucking haters that will fucking hate on him regardless of what he does. You two prove it. So thank you. Thank you for proving my point again and again and again. Manny is active and have a better career than Canelo. Oh my God. Get a grip, Rich. Fucking Christ. Malignaggi still blames everyone who beats him was on PEDs. Of course he does. Of course he does. Because that's the only thing a mediocre boxer could do to fulfill his fucking ego. Because he knew he wasn't elite. He was never elite. Every elite fighter he fought fucking kicked his ass. Not beat him, kicked his ass. Hatton, Cotto, fucking Sean Porter, who's I don't think elite, but all of them kicked his ass. They ragdolled that dude around the ring, beat him fucking senseless. And the only victories he has are mediocre opponents that no one rates. Right? And then him fucking having a tough fight with Broner, a Broner who was fucking shot to bits by the time he fought him. If Rafael Espinoza rematches Robsy in 2024, how do you think that fight will go, Sean? Can Robsy adjust? I think Robsy Ramirez will win the rematch, kind of like Noshtinga just won back his title last weekend. Destroyed him. Because Paulie Malignaggi, when he was a champion at welterweight, when Broner went up to fight him, wasn't even considered a top 10 welterweight at that time. Obviously, the welterweight division was deep at that time. But he was a guy that had a world title and fucking wasn't even rated in the top 10. It's kind of similar to that Ruiz guy, John Ruiz, who Roy Jones fought, who was a world champion back in the day. Yet no one rated him in the top 10 at fucking heavyweight at that time, right? Those guys were lucky to be in the right place at the right time, to have the right promoters fucking behind them, to put them in position to win a fucking title because they weren't good enough to be world champions. I say that about Gotti as well. And I'm a huge Gotti fan. But, man, he was gifted titles. When Canelo was Benavidez' age, he was already a two-weight champion with wins over Lara, Trout, Mosley, Cotto, etc. Exactly. Benavidez has a better 2023 than Canelo. Yeah, he did. And finally, he's got some legitimate wins. Finally. It only took him his whole fucking life to get 2 wins. And one of his wins was against a guy that Canelo already fucking knocked out. So congratulations on that. And the other one was against a guy moving up in weight who never fought a world champion, ever, in Andrade. Never fought a world champion. Porter had no skills, power, or construct. Facts. Opponent-wise. Nobody has a better resume in boxing, okay? I will say Tio has 2 better wins without controversy. The Canelo's 2 best wins, in my opinion. But why is that being brought up? All because we want David next. No, because the constant hate and ridicule Canelo Alvarez gets. When he fights Benavidez, you will find more excuses to criticize it. That's my point. Point watches, John Ruiz, Dry, Sean. Norman Stone was a legend, though. Only reason to watch Ruiz fights. The group giving Canelo all this criticism need to hold the new crop of fighters to that standard, not fighters who are future Hall of Famers. Exactly. Salute, Sean. Look out for the Yanquil Rivera this weekend. He's a Puerto Rican fighter with a lot of upside. Mosley was shot, old. Laura was very controversial. Not really controversial. Only fucking Canelo haters acted like it was controversial. Laura blew that fucking that title by running, literally fucking running. And Cotto was no longer in his prime. And Trout beat fucking Cotto, and it was a unification fight, and he was undefeated. But you won't give him credit for that either, right? It doesn't matter. You're going to find ways to be critical. It doesn't matter how he won the fights. The point is, he took on that level of opponent. Fighters today aren't doing that. So to win over Lomachenko, who was clearly a smaller guy, for Lopez is better than Canelo moving and fighting Golovkin. Canelo hate, yep. If Canelo beating Laura 8-4, didn't think it was that close. Competitive, yeah, but not that close in my opinion. It was competitive early on until the power punchers, the body punching started to affect Laura, and then he started to run. Loma was pound for pound number one when Tio beat him at 22. No, it was a great win for Tio. A great win. Nobody's saying it's not. That was a great win for Tio. So let's move to next point. Here we go. So the Edgar Berlanga card. So here's the guy that was just mentioned. Yanquiel Rivera Figueroa versus Andy Dominguez Vasquez. I'm not sure from this card which fights are on my prediction league. So let's take a quick peek. It's funny, I make these videos, but then I forget to do my fucking league. And then the guy tells me, hey. So Yanquiel Rivera is 4-0 with 2 KOs. He's fighting Andy Dominguez, who is 10-0 with 6 KOs. This is a good fight, man. Good little fight that's probably not going to get much attention. But apparently I should go with Rivera. What do you think I should pick? You know Rivera better than me. So what do you think? What round should I pick him? Is he going to stop this guy? Or what's the case? Andy Cruz is also fighting Brian Zamorano. Andy Cruz, obviously 2-0, 1 KO, fighting this guy who is 14-2 and 5 KOs. I'm going to pick Andy Cruz by... He's not a big knockout puncher, but I think he's fighting a bit of a cherry pick opponent. So I will say he will stop him in the 8th round. 8th round. Yanquiel, not sure if it'll be a stoppage though. Okay, so then I'll take Yanquiel by unanimous decision. Antonio Vargas, is he on this card? Yes, fighting Jonathan Rodriguez. Vargas is 17-1 with 9 KOs. Fighting Rodriguez, 17-1 with 7 KOs. I'm going to go with Vargas, Antonio Vargas, by split decision. You got to throw those split decisions in there. Did Stevenson turn down contracts from both Top Rank and Matchroom? I don't know if he was offered a contract by Matchroom. I haven't heard anything about that. Lomachenko is still number one after he destroyed Haney. Shakram Gisyoff, 14-0 with 9 KOs versus Pablo Cesar Cano, 35-8-1, 25 KOs. I think Pablo Cano will be dangerous early on in this fight, but I think as this fight progresses, Gisyoff will be too much for him. I look for Gisyoff to go to 15-0 with 10 KOs, stopping Cano probably around the 9th round, mostly off of just volume and just old age setting in. And then Edgar Berlanga, 21-0, 16 KOs, fighting Paddy McCrory, 18-0 with 9 KOs. Somebody told me earlier they have Berlanga by mid-round stoppage, so I'm going to go the same 8-round stoppage for Berlanga to go to 22-0 with 17 KOs. And then fucking my man from New York City is going to be dick riding Berlanga like crazy afterwards. What's his name? Punch Drunk Boxing. Acting like everybody at 168 is ducking him. I got the vampire Berlanga. Yes, he's going to suck that guy dry. Ugh, disgusting. That doesn't sound very fucking promising. But yeah, so let's move to next one. What's next on my agenda? Okay, there's the stats. We already saw it. It's not a big deal. Here we go. News and notes. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia, April 20th, will be for Haney's WBA super lightweight world title, as a step-aside deal is being worked out to satisfy the WBC mandatory Sandor Martin and put him in line to fight the winner, WBC President Mircea Soliman has revealed. So there's also new news today. Apparently, there's no venues available in Vegas, so that fight is going to be happening in New York City on DAZN pay-per-view. I think it's a good fight. For Devin Haney, you probably couldn't get a better opponent at this point of his career. Coming off of the fight with Lomachenko, sure, people feel he lost that fight, but win, lose, or draw, it was a competitive fight. He showed that he's probably a better fighter than people give him credit for. In the Pro Grace fight, he went in there and stylistically, he always had the advantage, but he fucking destroyed Pro Grace in a fashion that no one could have anticipated. Now you go in and have your first pay-per-view, second pay-per-view, third pay-per-view versus Ryan Garcia, a guy that is going to generate a lot of money. Dangerous fighter, but you got a history. They faced 6 times in the amateur, 3-3. So that's going to be a big build-up. They already went hands against each other this past weekend or whenever that was. So it's going to be a big buzz. And of course, the LDBC are going to fucking love them some fucking Devin Haney, because nobody is dick riding fucking Devin Haney more than the LDBC. The shit's becoming ridiculous. Did you see this funny picture? Let me just show you. It's hilarious. Hilarious. I knew BFTB spent time in jail and stuff, but I did not know that his relationship with Devin Haney and the boys was this fucking close. LDBC loves Haney. Look, they're a cute couple. Only in 2024 could that be a thing. Wow. That's so sweet. BFTB with his crush. Wow. I think Deontay Wilder's going to be upset. Deontay Wilder's probably going to try to steal BFTB's boyfriend. Watch out, Devin Haney. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's some crazy shit. But literally, this is what the LDBC do to themselves. They love to call everybody else fucking out for being homosexual because of the way they love to dick ride boxers. But there's nobody in the YouTube universe that dick rides and fanboys for boxers more than the LDBC. The shit's downright disgusting. Cringe-worthy all the time. BFTB, the LDBC, perfect flag for him. Shakur acts like he's already the money man, but who has he beat? Well, that's the thing. That's when I talked about a video not that long ago talking about these guys being prima donnas, right? I mean, I think Shakur and Devin Haney and Teo and Tank are great fighters, right? And potentially Ryan Garcia may prove us wrong. But the problem is these dudes are all prima donnas. They all act like they're fucking Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez. Yet none of them have put in the work to justify any of that, right? So it's a little ridiculous what they ask for and what they do. Because the truth is they're good, but you got to prove that shit in the ring. The rest is just talk, man. It doesn't mean anything. The 2 fights were Campbell Hatton and Devin Haney. Huh? What's that? Haney will beat Ryan Garcia. It will be competitive, but Haney will win 8-4 by simply outboxing him. The fight will have low output and be super technical. I expect so. I saw news that Stevenson turned down a 2-fight contract with Matchroom that would pay him $5 million each. Well, that tells you everything you need to know. So he turns down a $3.5 million contract from Top Rank, and then you turn down a $10 million 2-fight deal with Matchroom, and that's your guarantee. That's not how much money you can make. That's your guarantee. So you walk away from a Lomachenko fight, you walk away from a Navarrete fight, you walk away from a Ryan Garcia fight, you walk away from a Devin Haney fight, you walk away from a Teofimo Lopez fight. Where are you going to go? To the PBC and fight who? Rolly fucking Romero? Tank Davis? I mean, if you could sign with the PBC and get a Tank Davis fight, Okay, then I won't say a thing. I'll be like, nice, good move, smart. Unification fight, great matchup, a fight everybody would love to see. Like all these dudes saying Canelo Alvarez needs to fight David Benavidez. What about Tank Davis needs to fight Shakur Stevenson? Right? If we need fights to happen, why isn't that fight being pushed? Why aren't these Canelo haters pushing for fucking Tank Davis to finally step up and fight a legitimate caliber fighter like a Shakur Stevenson for unification at 135 pounds? He don't need to go up to 140 and fight a bigger guy. He can fight a dude at his weight class right fucking now. And if he is such a superstar, then send the fucking contract, right? You can do it. So do it. But of course, knockout boxing will say it's everybody else, but it's not Tank. Okay, when Tank retires and fucking he still hasn't fought anyone, it's going to be fucking everybody else, but not Tank. Everybody else is fighting everybody else. Everybody else is fighting each other. The only dude who's not involved is Tank Davis. And in the long run, that's going to be his problem. Nobody else's. Drew Titan's biggest LDBC weirdo. That dude is fucking a weirdo. I can't call them great without proving it. Exactly. People were crowning Stevenson before he proved anything. The guy isn't a fighter. He is deathly afraid of being hit. Now that you say that, I mean, he does sort of fit into that Inouye narrative that Inouye said American fighters are afraid to get punched in the face. He is ultimately the perfect example of that. Skilled fighter, very good, could be the next Floyd Mayweather. Doesn't have the body Floyd had, doesn't have the long arms that Floyd had, which is a detriment, which is probably why he didn't look better against guys like Nakatila and obviously De Los Santos, and probably why he wouldn't look great against Navarrete either. But at the same time, skill-wise, the dude is fucking sublime. But if you're afraid to get hit, whether it's because you know you can't take a punch, so you don't want to get hit by a punch, or you just pussy, and I ain't calling him pussy, but I'm saying if you're afraid to get hit, what's going to happen when you step up to face really high-level fucking opponents? You're going to get hit. Floyd Mayweather fucking got caught clean by Shane Mosley. You could not ask for a cleaner fucking right hand than that. And he fucking took that shit and then took another one and then came out the next round and proceeded to beat fucking Shane Mosley easily for the next fucking 10 rounds. So it wasn't even entertaining or competitive, which is why people don't like Floyd. Because when you're beating a guy that easy, you could at least fucking make the fight entertaining. Throw combinations, go for the kill, fucking do something, right? But people don't like him because he fought like a bitch. He didn't fucking put his foot on the gas to try to fucking get dudes out. And that's the problem with Shakur. He does the same thing, but the problem is we don't even know if he's got a chin like Floyd. Floyd had a good chin, man. So, you know, did he ever get knocked down legitimately? No. I think he got knocked down by Judah, but it wasn't counted. Mayweather has an underrated chin, though. That's what I said. I just said he got a great chin, and it's been tested. So nobody ever is going to say anything about Floyd's chin, even though he didn't get hit a lot. When he got hit, he proved that he could take it. And when he wasn't getting hit, it's not that he was afraid to get hit, because we know he could take it. He was just too good. He didn't need to get hit. But Shakur, he needed to get hit against De Los Santos so he could fucking land something more fucking to win the fight convincingly, right? Occasionally, you got to fucking take a risk. Lomachenko took risks against Lopez, against Haney. He got hit against those guys, but he also fucking hit them, right? It looked like Lopez was going to get fucking out of that fight, and it looked like Haney was going to get out of that fight. If Lomachenko was a bit of a harder puncher, those two dudes would have been fucking washed. They just should be happy they're fighting a much smaller dude who isn't a power puncher. That chin, fast recovery. Yep. Didn't Corley hurt Floyd too? I think he did. Floyd's chin is even better than his defense. Wow, I don't know about that, but yes, he definitely had great defense and a great chin. You throw that combination together. Who else had a great chin? De La Hoya. And De La Hoya also wasn't afraid to get fucking punched in the mouth, right? Which made a lot of entertaining fights. Mayweather come back to stop him, though. Yeah. Corley was never that great, though. You know, he wasn't Shane Mosley. Even though Mosley wasn't at his best at that point. That was probably 2 or 3 years too late, which is probably why Floyd retired, so he didn't have to worry about any of those guys. But there we are. I ran through my PPT. Thanks, everyone, for jumping in. As I said, I will be going live this Sunday. I don't think I'm going to be able to go live for Berlanga because apparently it's going to be on ESPN. But hopefully I can go live for that card out of Japan. It should be this time at night. So it should play out perfectly for me. And since you're here now, it should play out perfectly for you. But cheers, everyone. Thanks for coming in. And I will see you next time. Have a good weekend. Peace out.